Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, before we get on to the subject here, please remember Monday the 29th of July, Black Monday. So please at least wear something black in respect to all the farmers and in memory of those who've been murdered in South Africa, and also with respect to all the farm invasions that have taken place over the years. All right, now moving on to the expropriation of land without compensation issue. I have a video attached here where the chairperson of the committee talks about what their moves are going to be. The chairperson of the advisory committee is Vuyokazi Mahlati, and you'll see her in this interview that takes place after this intro. Before we go there are two facts that really are missing in this whole argument. The first is that historically, what they're claiming when they say that the black population was kicked off their lands by the white is largely complete bullshit. Most of the region, in fact, just about all of the region west of Lesotho was never occupied by one Bantu ever before the white people came through. And the second thing is when people keep on talking about 74% of the land being owned by whites. Let me show you the actual percentage. Here's a little chart which kind of sums it up. Now, as you can see, the land ownership of white people is way below 74%. And having said that, here comes the video. This is the lady who's going to be heading up the advisory panel looking into expropriation of land without compensation. Please have a great evening. Remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates and have a great day.
Good morning. Just perhaps take us through some of the highlights of what was said.
Well, certainly, Andrea, it's a very wide-ranging report. So you go back to September 2018 when the president actually appointed the advisory panel to help the interministerial committee that is looking at land reform in South Africa. So there are a number of key areas that it's proposing. So, for example, it talks about the land claims court to be reformed, the financing scheme as well to be transformed, but also more importantly to really try and argument a number of areas that are really just very critical in making sure that South Africa is able to overcome this one key area. But joining us now is a chairperson of the advisory panel. So, Doctor, thank you so much indeed for your time. So let us look at some of the key findings. What are some of the areas that you have been able to come up with?
Well, the bigger issue here is that we cannot continue with the status quo. And South Africa has reached unacceptable inequality levels. We're being shamed globally. And land reform is at the center of that. So what we're saying is that the shift now should accelerate land reform as far as restitution is concerned, because that is mandatory as part of the Constitution. But we need to make sure that we build the capacity, strengthen the Land Claims Commission to make sure that it has support and resourced properly in order to research, at the same time to deal with the backlog of land claims that were initially targeted to be resolved by 1998. We move further to say we need a reform of the court itself so that we have a land court that addresses issues broader and oversight, with a land rights protector that begins to address issues of corruption, evictions that are unlawful. And we go further to say it's important that we shift from the willing buyer, willing seller model, because it has created a number of problems and has not made planning and focused delivery of land reform possible and in a more strategic way. In terms of that, we propose a more proactive, area-based land reform model in terms of acquisition of the land, and that to be coupled with clear analysis of the agroecological potential of the land in a given area and land use options, so that when we make decisions in terms of who owns the land, we know specifically who to target, be it private sector or public sector, and we find ways of ensuring that we identify the rightful beneficiaries as far as that is concerned. A big part of the of this is around issues of tenure. There is a big issue in terms of the recognition and recordal of land rights. We sit with over 60% of South Africans with their land rights not being recorded. And we are saying that is not acceptable, in the sense that if you don't have that asset that you can leverage, it means you are outside of life, outside of the economy. You are excluded. We cannot be proud of that. So we're coming up with very specific proposals around land recordal and land administration. Importantly is the area of expropriation without compensation. We've looked at that very seriously and actually looked at arguments pro and against, and came to the conclusion that there is a case for the amendment of the Constitution, in the sense that currently the Constitution refers to just and equitable compensation and does not address the issue of zero compensation. So the Constitution is compensation-based. So the clarification that we are seeking in the amendment is to be more specific in terms of addressing this, and also we've gone further to highlight and assist with the wording for such, and also assist with areas where such can occur.
All right, Chair, thank you so much indeed for that comprehensive response. Really just touching to a number of areas as the country is really battling with this issue of the land reform. So back to you in Johannesburg.
That was our reporter Kylie Kumalo up at the release of the Land Reform Panel's final report.